So while the E3 event might actually be a couple weeks away, it seems like all these big announcements are starting to happen now. Today is currently May 27th. It's 1:30 in the morning, and you might be saying to yourself, well, RGT, why are you awake? There's lots of stuff to talk about later on today. There's a big Sonic event. There's the State of Play event. What has you up so late? Well, it has to do with the new Nintendo Switch model. A brand new report just went out talking about a Nintendo Switch revision, and it seems like it's coming sooner than we thought. But that's not the only Nintendo announcement that we got, because yesterday we got news about Pokemon Arceus. I'm not quite sure how to say it, but I'm going to say Arceus because it rolls off my tongue a little bit easier. If I am saying it wrong, I apologize to the Pokemon fans out there, but I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan in the world, so you can't really hold it against me. But Pokemon Arceus actually got a release date yesterday, and it's actually coming sooner than I thought it would be. So Pokemon Arceus is coming out in 2022 as originally stated by the Pokemon Company, but we actually have a concrete release date for this game now of January 28th. So that's a lot earlier than I thought it was going to be, honestly. Now I know early 2020, that's sort of a broad window, but I definitely thought this was going to be like a March game or an April game, but no, it is indeed coming in the month of January on January 28th. Now the initial footage that we saw from this obviously was early in development. It needed a lot of work, but the concept, this open world sort of Breath of the Wild style Pokemon game, was something that I wanted. And I think if you're someone who grew up playing the Pokemon games, like, this is what you have wanted as an adult. This is what you have wanted the Pokemon franchise to go into. So for me and a lot of the older Pokemon players, this was a big announcement. This is a game that a lot of us are looking forward to because it sort of breaks away from that traditional Pokemon mold that is just, so common in the Pokemon games nowadays. Like, yeah, there's other games that are coming out in the franchise, those remakes of the games that people really like. I don't care about those. I'm looking forward to Arceus, but Arceus actually plays into the bigger story that we have to talk about. Obviously, the title of this video should have you very excited because the Nintendo Switch Pro, the Super Switch, the Nintendo Switch revision, this mythical unicorn that supposedly some people feel like it doesn't exist, even though, well, we've gotten so many things to lead to it believing that it will exist, now got another report. This report just went up from Bloomberg. It's being corroborated by several other people, including Emily Rogers, and there's some very interesting stuff in this report. I'll have a link to it in the description box down below should you want to read it, but where's the fun in reading? Like, don't you want to listen to some guy at 1:30 in the morning talking about video games? That sounds a whole lot more fun to me. So in this report from Bloomberg, there is some new information that we haven't talked about yet. Now, to sort of catch you up to speed what this system is supposedly going to be capable of, it's going to be capable of up to 4K in dock mode. It'll have an OLED screen as opposed to an LCD screen like the current Nintendo Switch has. Think about the original PlayStation Vita, that beautiful screen that thing had. That would be the same sort of technology that would be used in this screen for the new Nintendo Switch revision, which allows for things like better colors, better brightness, and better battery life as far as the system in handheld mode. It'll be a 7-inch screen, which is bigger than the current Nintendo Switch model that is on this market right now. In handheld mode, it looks like it's only going to be 720p from the reports that we've gotten so far, which when you're talking about an OLED screen, once you see an OLED screen in 720p, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is good. This looks really good. And of course, like I said, it'll be scalable for up to 4K in terms of docked games. So that really brings a lot of interesting things to the market because the Nintendo Switch, of course, only does 1080p at maximum right now. A lot of games even struggle to hit that. Of course, there's going to be better chips and things in the system as well that will allow for things like supposedly artificial intelligence upscaling, that DLSS. Will that be available in this Nintendo Switch revision? I definitely think it will be, just because of the relationship between Nvidia and Nintendo, and there has to be some sort of way to get these games to scale to up to 4K without sacrificing things like battery life, and of course just redesigning the whole system as a whole. But what's very interesting about this is now that they're saying that this system will actually be priced above the $299 price point of the current Nintendo Switch model. Now, I feel like a lot of people expected that. Some people are expecting $350 to $400 for this system, and of course you still have the standard Nintendo Switch at $300 and the Switch Lite at $199. But in this article, it actually says that the current Nintendo Switch model will be being phased out, and that it'll just be this new Nintendo Switch model and then the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, obviously, they've done a lot of production on the Nintendo Switch. We heard it in the last fiscal year report, how many systems they're planning on selling, over 25 million in this upcoming time period. And when you're talking about the potential for 3 systems during this time frame, I mean, that's definitely very feasible. You have the people that already own a Nintendo Switch. You have people that are going to want to buy a Nintendo Switch, either it be a Switch Lite, a standard Nintendo Switch, or upgrade their current Nintendo Switch to this Nintendo Switch revised model. So really, that number makes a lot more sense when you're talking about potentially 3 SKUs. But I think it is interesting that they will be phasing out the standard Nintendo Switch model and just having the 2 systems on the marketplace. But I guess it sort of makes sense. Like, would there really be a point for a standard Nintendo Switch to be on the marketplace if you have this better system that's available, and if you don't really care about the home console side of things because it is a hybrid system? Of course, you could pick up the Nintendo Switch Lite. But what gets very, very exciting with this situation is supposedly a announcement is coming like soon, like potentially before E3 soon. And this system is actually going potentially into production in July, according to people familiar with the matter, and that this system will actually be releasing in either September or October of this year, which is a lot sooner than a lot of people thought that was going to happen. A lot of people thought that it would be maybe the tail end of the year, maybe something like November or potentially early spring, if this was even a thing that is going to happen. But now it seems like this is going to actually play into potential E3 things as well, as some games that will be shown during E3 will be shown running on this new Nintendo Switch hardware to show these new graphics, to show what this new system is capable of, which I think would just blow the roof off of E3. Like, there's so many potential announcements that are happening from other companies like Sony and Microsoft and whatnot. But if Nintendo was able to come along and showcase this system before E3 and then showcase games for this system at E3, that would be a huge win. Now, you got to remember, this is a situation like we've seen Nintendo handle their handheld side of things more so than their console side of things. When you look at their handhelds, they've always done revisions that are a bit beefier, things like the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance to the Game Boy Advance SP, which offered a backlight. Of course, the Nintendo 3DS had several revisions. The Nintendo DS had several revisions with the DSi and the DS Lite. So this is not outside of Nintendo's realm of possibility when it comes to their systems. You just never really saw it that much with the home console side of things. But because this is a hybrid system, this is obviously going to be a big thing. And when things get really interesting is, let's go back to the first thing that we talked about with Pokemon Arceus. Could Pokemon Arceus be a game that utilizes the Nintendo Switch Pro, where yes, it'll run on your current Nintendo Switch, but it'll look better and it'll play better on this new system, and this game just happens to come out in the month of January? I think this would be a big win for Nintendo, and then we can start to talk about other games that have sort of disappeared. Obviously, a game like Metroid Prime 4, that's kind of understandable what's going on with that. That game's been in development hell. They had to restart the whole project. But could we potentially see Metroid Prime 4 running on the system? Or a game like Bayonetta 3? Bayonetta 3 has been extremely quiet. Like, why is that? Could they have been wanting to save this sort of game for this new Nintendo Switch model? I think it's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with this, because right now, like I say, where there's smoke, there's fire, and like there's like buildings burning down, and like there's just so much smoke going on right now that you can't help but deny that something is happening. There's a lot of big people with their reputations on the line with this, and I just feel like if this wasn't a possibility, if this wasn't a thing, if they did not have good information, that they wouldn't be sharing this information. They wouldn't be talking about this so freely. So I don't know, man. It's going to be very, very interesting. This whole lead up to E3 has been very exciting. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about the Sonic stuff and the State of Play stuff later today. I didn't plan on making 3 videos in a day, but the information is just flowing in right now, and I think that this could potentially be very, very big. And considering the fact that the announcement is supposedly happening before E3, that would mean that it's happening like, what, next week? So that's a whole nother story. Do we get to see this system next week? Do we get to see the additional features of this system next week? What sort of things is it going to do for older games? Your current Nintendo Switch library of games, how will it upscale those games? Like, there's so many possibilities. There's so many things happening with this that even just if you look beyond the surface level, I think that's where things get really really exciting. That's where things get very interesting. This premium Nintendo Switch model. What else is it going to have? Different sorts of Joy-Cons and things like that? So I don't know, man. It's very exciting stuff right now. And I think it's something that is going to be very interesting to see how Nintendo handles this situation, how they handle the pricing of this, and how they handle this announcement. Because if they do indeed announce this system before E3 and it plays into the games that we see at E3, it's going to make it an easy purchase, especially if you're able to see a game running on this revised model versus running on the standard model. A lot of people won't care. A lot of people won't feel the need to upgrade, but there is a large contingency of people that want this additional upgrade. And hell, I mean, I'm one of them. Give me better graphics, give me better stuff with these games. I want to see what this system is capable of. So that is what is currently going on right now. Some very crazy stuff and, you know, just fun stuff to talk about. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this situation. What do you think of this Nintendo Switch revision? Is it actually coming out in September or October as the Bloomberg article is stating? I will have a link to the Bloomberg article in the description box down below should you guys want to read it now that you've listened to me ramble about this thing, because I don't know, man, I'm just very excited. I love E3 season because you get all these new games, you get all these new announcements and things like that, and it's just fun to talk about stuff like this. So let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We're going to be doing a 400,000 subscriber giveaway when we hit that mark, so let's get up to that mark. And check out other videos on the channel. New York Knicks all day. We won the game, and that's the reason I'm still up right now, because I'm still excited about the Knicks beating the Hawks tonight. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video, which will be later today, talking about the Sonic event. Later.